Okay, this is a tutorial on how to change the router bits inside the pocket machine in the table saw area. First thing you want to do is lift this box that's got the screws and everything. Just lift that off the pocket machine. Okay, once you've got that lifted up off the pocket machine, next thing we'll do is grab the Allen wrench from underneath here. It's just on there with a magnet. We loosen up this front screw here, and then the whole lid and everything will lift up off of there. Next, I can see there's some sawdust in here. It's really important that this machine gets ran with the dust collection. The sawdust gets in the motors and it gets really bad. So first thing, I'm gonna blow the machine out really good. If you turn the dust collector on, there's a switch right here underneath the shaper. That's the dust collector. You can turn that on when you blow it out, and that helps get all the sawdust cleared out of your way. Okay, once we get that blown out, we want to get the new bits for the shapers, and for that we're going to come over here to our cabinet. Inside this cabinet is going to be where we keep all the parts for that. So right down here on this bottom shelf, there's new bits for that machine. You'll need a drill bit and a shaper router bit. Okay, so we've got our new bits sitting here. So next thing we want to do, the machine unplugs when you lift it up. So when you lift the lid, it unplugs the routers, so we don't need to worry about that. They're safe. They can't come on. Inside here, you've got wrenches for your drill motor, and you've got wrenches for your router, and you've got a jig here that's used to set the depth. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus here enough, but yeah, you can kind of see there's two lines on there, one that says D and one that says R. So you can see you set this up here to the collet, and you set the depth of the drill bit to the D mark, and then on the router you do the same. You set the jig on the collet there, and you set the router bit depth to the line on the R. So that's your router depth there. So pretty simple to undo these collets. You're just going to take your wrench and get it on the back collet. Get your other wrench and stick it on the front collet, and then you'll just loosen them up and pull the old bit out, stick the new bit in, and then tighten up the wrenches. Okay, so I've got the new bit in there, and I've got it snug down. You'll notice there's wax on the end of this. The sharpener, after he sharpens the bit, he dips it in this wax to protect the bit. You want to just carefully pull that off. Just know that the bit's going to be sharp underneath the wax, so you just pull that off, throw that away. That way you can get a nice accurate reading with your drill jig line, so you can pull the bit out to where it gets right to that line, and then tighten up your lock nut. Okay, once we get the drill motor bit changed out, we can get our wrenches put back up here. Now we'll pull our other wrenches out, get one on the bottom and one on the top, and get those broke. This cradle does move forward, so sometimes you can move it forward to be able to get your hands under there to work on it, and that will just make it a little bit easier to get those undone. Even though we're changing this out, these are still really sharp, so be really careful when you're working around there with the wrenches. You don't catch your fingers or your knuckles or anything around that sharp bit. Okay, once we get those lock nuts tightened up, make sure we get the wrenches put back away. I do one last final check with this and make sure that it's set up there and that it's set up there. We're good to go. We can get that put back in there. Next, we'll take care of the bits to get sharpened. So we just want to get these bits in the case here, and then I will show you where we put those. Anything that needs to be sharpened in the shop goes right over here on the board. So there's a magnet and some baggies. They all say Wassland on them, 422. So they just go in the bag, and that just goes on this first hook. Any blades you can put on this bottom left bolt, and then the magnet is just kind of to help hold the bag up. So we'll just get these in the baggie. Okay, so we've got those all in the bag. So the sharpener guy comes every 2 weeks. If you check the calendar, on Monday every other week he comes. So that's when you'll know that when he's coming and when he's dropping stuff off. So every other Monday. Okay, so once we get this all done, we go ahead and close the lid down. I always be careful, make sure that those plugs don't get bent and I don't cram it down, because those prongs on the plug have to go into the outlet. So if while you're working on it one gets bent over a little bit, when you go to put the lid down you can really smash the plug out. So grab our Allen wrench and tighten up this screw in front. Make sure that it's all the way down. Then we go ahead and set our box back up on top. Okay, so I've got the table down. Before I put the box back up on top, I just wanted to show you this setting back here. So this is the web. Let me do a test pocket and I'll explain a little bit of that in case that needs to be adjusted at all. Okay, so we've done a test pocket here. So we'll flip that over. So on a pocket, you've got the pocket. This measurement from the end of the board here to the start of the pocket, that thickness right there is called the web of the pocket. We run our webs at 3/8 of an inch using a 1-inch pocket screw. That means the screw goes into the other material 5/8 of an inch, and we usually pocketing into 3/4, so 5/8 is plenty. So that's what we're looking for. If that web is too thin or too thick for any reason, over here it's a 7/16 wrench for this. Loosen that up, and this black track moves. I've got a little scale right here on the end, so if you want it to be a bigger plus, you slide that black thing over that way. If you want it smaller web, you can move it that way. So we run a 3/8 web, so it should be set. But if for some reason you come up here, or in the future, if for some reason your screws are poking through and you can't figure out why, you can check this and see if it got too loose. This machine works on a rocker system, so sometimes that machine will hit the stop, and if this nut works loose, then it'll adjust that, and that web will get smaller and smaller over time. So it's always nice to double check that after you change the bits. The other thing you want to check is where this hole placement is. You'll notice on these screws there's a little bit of a distance between the center of the hole and the edge of the screw. If you've got your pocket here, so let's see if we can get a view of it here. So if you have this pocket hole too far down at the bottom, then when your screw goes in, it's going to hit the head here, and it's going to force your screw to go crooked at the last minute, and it'll either bend this, or what it'll do is it'll crack this web and break it, and you'll start seeing cracks right here on the edge. So that's intentional to have that hole spaced up off the bottom, the distance of the shoulder on the screw here. So you can check that. If that's off, probably want to get me or Garrett, because it's a little bit harder to change that out in the machine. You've got to change the whole angle of the cradle. So anyways, that's how you do that. So when you put this top piece back on, just make sure this air hose is out of the way. So you can see, just make sure this air hose is out of the way. Also, one thing, we only keep coarse thread screws over here. So if you're ever refilling the screws, make sure you're only loading the coarse head screws. And that's how you change the bits in the pocket machine.